This is your Classical Break, your daily dose of classical music. I'm Tyler Alderson, and today we're going to be celebrating the birthday of Robert Schumann, June 8th, 1810, with a couple of his piano pieces, his Arabeske and his Flower Piece. Now, these two pieces were written and published back-to-back during a tough time, personally and professionally, for Schumann. Professionally, he needed money, and that meant he needed to publish some music that would sell well. The money back then was in music for amateurs to play at home, which meant toning down some of the virtuosic technique players like Schumann had in favor of more accessible music. Personally, he was deeply in love with Clara Wieck, the daughter of his former music teacher, but her father had blocked any chance they had at marriage. This wasn't just a problem of courtesy or keeping the family happy. Legally, her father had a say in whether or not she could marry. And so Schumann and Clara were forced apart, Schumann making his way to Vienna. Eventually, he would start a legal case against her father, both forcing him to allow Clara to marry and making him pay a significant sum for spreading vicious rumors about Schumann during the acrimonious battle. So it's no surprise that these two pieces are easily playable, beautifully written, and laced with messages to his beloved Clara. And we'll start with the Arabeske, which is technically the first of the two pieces, although it's more like one twin being born a few minutes before another. It's in the form of a rondo, with the opening theme recurring a few times throughout the piece, with different themes interspersed in between. The main theme has a flowing, lyrical feel, major and dreamy. The other sections range from melancholy to distressed. You could say that Schumann is both thinking of his beloved in a nice daydream-like way and about the distance between them. Here's Jonathan Biss in a concert recorded at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston with Schumann's Arabeske. Now, even though Schumann was clearly thinking about his beloved Clara when he was writing this, she wasn't the only woman that he was thinking about. He said he wanted to be in the, quote, front rank of favorite composers of the ladies of Vienna. A proper lady often was expected to be able to play the piano or some other instrument, and Schumann certainly saw the potential cash in that. He didn't seem to think much of these two pieces, maybe because they were meant to be easier to play for those amateur ladies. He even put the Arabeske in C major, the home of the destitute, as my choir teacher used to say. It's usually the first key that you'd learn to play in, considered a bit of a simpler key. But Clara wasn't just some amateur player. She was a bona fide virtuoso. She was a prodigy who had been giving concerts since she was a young girl. Remember, she was the daughter of a very well-known pianist that Schumann had taken lessons from for years. And even though his flower piece was, again, meant to be the simpler piece to play, Schumann encoded a message to her in the form of a motif that he had previously written for her. So even though he couldn't speak to her directly, he could send her letters, and he could also send her messages through his music. And rather than being about flowers in a descriptive way, this piece is about the things we do with flowers, like, for example, say, give them to our lovers. Maybe it's not his deepest or heaviest work, but it's obviously a very personal one for Schumann. Here's Ivan Illich with Schumann's Flower Piece. think this is an especially lovely piece to listen to. Now that we know that the story had a happy ending, Schumann did eventually get to marry Clara. She became Clara Schumann, and she became not only one of his muses, but one of the people who fiercely advocated for him and helped get his music out to a wider audience. Thanks to Ivan Illich and Jonathan Biss, along with the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston. You can check out more of their concert series online at thegardnermuseum.org. And thank you for listening. If you have the chance, please rate and review this podcast wherever you're getting it. I'm Tyler Alderson, and tomorrow for your classical break, we'll be listening to Gustav Holst's Second Suite for Military Band. I'll see you then.